Yeah, I'm good. How are you? Nice, nice. That's awesome. Thank you. Um, they might be live as well. They go live at this time usually. No? Why? Is there something new? What's happening? Well, forgive my ignorance, but who the heck is Ella? And what's the? Oh, Musk? Nah, well, I don't know. They got backroom deals. I'm pretty sure whatever they want us to see is just for show. But this administration's policies have been heavily influenced by that guy. So whether he's fired or not, he's that the dude in the White House is dancing with LS every step. Hmm? ايش يسوي في Danish? Hmm? Så fick de salam biyishko zamalshing telegram lay. No, ili la social account. Yeah, it's just um well, the administration's trying to swing to the left because it's gone way, way too far to the right, and its poll number tanked really, really bad. So now he's trying to win favors from the Democrats. He's trying to move left. So all this show he's doing of firing Musk and stuff, that's just for show. But everything he's doing behind the scenes is still his policies that he's enacting. So, and no matter how much he tries to go to the left, it's not gonna be enough because he's showing his true face. People will never forget his true face. Hmm? Ain't no coming back from that. Too far, too far. Yep, yep. I think, well, I don't want to go into conspiracies, but he's a part, the Musk guy. He's a personification of like self-fulfilling prophecies of one of those German dissidents that got widespread after the end of World War II. Wilhelm something, one of those Afrikaners. Some of those Afrikaners are people who've fled Germany after the fall of Germany. So they still have that mindset of like, you know, superiority. Like even today, if you meet a white Afrikaner anywhere else around the globe, like in Australia or here in the US, when you get close to them and try to, make a little conversation and stuff, you would really hear like their warped state of mind. Like they have a very, very dim view of humanity, like the black people, especially Africans. And he's he grew up, or his parents grew up in that. Unfortunately, grew up believing that he has a victim card for I don't know for what reason. And still today, hectares, thousands of hectares of land is owned by white minority. They just wrote it off to each other when they colonized South Africa before independence. So they have everything, but they're still clinging to a victim card, which is like really pathetic, you know? Anyway, I heard the ICE is raiding some universities and stuff, looking for minority students. Hmm? They're literally pulling students out of a university for expressing their political ideology online, especially if it doesn't go in step with the current administration. Yep, yep, you're right, and that's what they want to do here as well. Um, I haven't delved in a lot into what Project 2025 entails, but now the wealth gap between the rich and poor is really wide. Middle class is disappearing. You're only going to be left with poor people and rich people that's made possible by corporations. So what you have is what they're thinking of doing, just like what the Saudi is doing with the line that are like uh, they want to make private cities in some parts of the country. So basically, it's just going to be owned by one rich guy corporation. And guess who's going to be the resident there? Yep, some of the students are captured in our school. That sucks. But unfortunately, this is going to come back to bite them. But what they're betting is since they have control over everything, they'll be able to scrub the internet. Basically, so that people wouldn't, you know, remind them in the future. So what happened in recent history is also a lot of data has been dumped from the internet after current administration has taken over with uh, their promise of like transparency and stuff. They've gone backwards and they have started scrubbing the internet. Basically, what Elon did was Twitter the first time. Basically, he took off a lot of servers. It's doing the same thing to our collective history online, which he's deleting. And but you gotta think in the back of your mind, hey, what gave them all this confidence to do all the wrong stuff, while the world watches, while everybody watches. What gave him all this confidence? Well, what I'm thinking is number one, uh, Don, that's his last administration. He's not going to be able to be voted in again. So he doesn't care about re-election. So he doesn't care about consequences after this. Even if a court finds him in the future and sends him to prison and stuff, he's an old man. He doesn't care. He's doesn't think of spending 10, 20, 30 years in prison, which he's an old man, so he doesn't care. So part of it is he's just an old man, he doesn't care. Um, we have that kind of segregation here in California. Rich people aren't, but now I heard there's a city underground for rich people that they can protect a possible nuclear war. Yeah, well, in terms of private cities, here, look at it. In Midwest and southern states, some states in Minnesota, Kentucky, blah blah. There's basically they're like cult type of people who have their own private cities, as you could say, but it's kind of a collective city. You have Mennonites, and I forgot what the other term was called. Basically, they don't use the dollar; they just use barter system, and they don't use modern technology, and they just live as if they're in the 19th or 18th century. But if you look at those communities, 99.9% of them are white, and they're allowed to flourish as long as they don't have like an armed insurgency toward the government or anything. But if you look back in history here in the US, there were cities where black people here in the US had their own small cities, was their own little basically economy. It was called the Second Wall Street, actually, somewhere in the east. I'm not sure which state, but literally they burned the whole town and killed off a lot of people there. And history forgot about them when somebody kind of dug through the forgotten history. They found that they actually did that. So it's okay as long as white people do it, as long as you know as long as they do it, it's okay. But if a black community does it, all hell breaks loose. They do not want black people coming together, having their own small community, which is a no-no. And I think survivors of the massacres, what's called a massacre, survivors of those massacres are still trying to get uh, the government to admit its mistakes and pay them off, which in the they're in the they're they are in their 90s or in the hundreds, I believe, 90s and late 80s. They're very old people, but they're still, you know, asking the government to admit their mistake, which they have not. And you see those two things together, but you see Mennonites still flourishing today. Mennonites and geez, I forgot what they were called. It's right on the tip of my tongue. Mm, but anyway, they're in Utah as well. And yeah, you gotta ask yourself why. What's the problem? And what do you think of black people should do? The world against black people. It's not the world against black people. Um, other minorities are waking up right now. They used to be. I mean, I think the United States is ranked number one in the world for having the most amount of people in prison, and most of those people are black males. And this came after the abolishing of Jim Crow era, where they favored white people in getting loans from the banks, and they favored white people in having some sort of business in some part of town. But if it's a black person, it used to be they used to make a lot of um, hurdles just for a black man to succeed. That was called the Jim Crow era. And after that was abolished, Then they started the prison system. They started throwing black men in prison for minor offenses. And what that caused is for the black family to disintegrate. Um, and the media did not help. The media just painted the black man as the most criminal, the most savage person, and other minorities like Chinese, Hispanics, and stuff. They understood what's going on, but they didn't speak out as much. Now, this administration is, they saw this administration for what it is. Everybody is looking up, paying more attention. Um, they see the injustice. That's what it was done for what it is. They're looking for the government for what it actually is, not for what they think it is. So it's an awakening. An awakening is happening, mm, but at the same time, it's not enough. Knowing is not enough unless there's some action. One of the things that I'll say is if you have a genocide happen in front of you, like Palestine, uh, if the US government is sending its weapons to be tested for battle testing its new weapons, so Israel could test it on an innocent population. And if that is happening in front of the world openly, and if nobody's doing anything about it, that's going to come to bite us in the future, I'm pretty sure. And they're testing us to see what we could take, how much we could take. And lo and behold, yeah, people might march, people might draw some slogans, but it doesn't matter. They'll still keep killing innocent civilians in Palestine. So that is a precedent. If that happens in front of the world, then that means they could do it again to another minority or another small country in front of the world again, and nobody would bat an eye. Chinese are not minority now. They are rich and powerful as white people now. Many talk, other listen. Yeah, Israel is a door for America to take over Middle East. Yeah. So yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's my point. If that is allowed to happen in an age where you have uh, the media, where anything happens anywhere around the world, it could go on the news like within 5 minutes, and where everything seems to be transparent. If that is happening in the 2025, if you are able to see a genocide happen on TV and nothing being done about it, then they know they could do that again and again and again to other parts of the world, other countries, naming African countries now. They could go into Africa and do whatever they want to do again. And the people might get upset, but nothing's going to happen about it. So it's a test. I believe they're testing, the world because Israel is daughter. Yeah. Anyway, I spoke too much. Huh? Why did you come in here and ask a question about Elon Musk? Kanay, እኔን አሁን ነገ በር አንኳኩተው መጥተው ዲፖርት ቢያደርጉኝ አንተን ነው ያዝ ልጅ አስለፍልፎኝ ነው የምላቸው። እም፣ ይኸው እኛ ጋር መጥቶ እ፣ አይ ደግሞ እኮ you can't be sure. አሁን the other thing I noticed, በአማርኛ ያወሯቸው ላይቮች እንዳለ አብዛኛውን ተመልሼ ሳየው በእንግሊዘኛ ከታች ሰብታይትል ይጽፋል። አንተ አቃጣሪ ዩቲዩብ እንደዚህ አቃጣሪ ሆኗል። እ? እውነቴን እኮ ነው። በአማርኛ የተናገርኳቸውን ነገር በስር በእንግሊዘኛ ሰብታይትል እየጻፈ አቀምጦልሃል ለካ። ወይ freedom of speech not for us but for them it doesn't apply equally እንዴ! ለዛ እኮ ነው ምንም ብዙ አመት እዚህ ሀገር እ? ምንም ወንጀል ሳይሰሩ የራሳቸውን ስራ እየሰሩ ራሳቸውን ሲያስተዳድሩ የቆዩ ሰዎችን ዛሬ ስለ አድሚኒስትሬሽኑ ጋር ስላልተስማሙ በኦንላይን የሆነ ነገር ሲሉ ቀጥታ መጠው ዲፖርት እያደረጓቸው ነው። If you make it on the subtitle, yes. If you make it on the subtitle alone, yes. Yeah. አይ እኔ እኮ ድሮ የሚመስለኝ በአማርኛ እስካወራው ድረስ የኤአዩ ገና ጩጬ እስከሆነ ድረስ በደንብ አይተረጉምም ምናምን ብዬ አስቤ ነበር። በቃ ሁሏን ነገር እየተረጎመ ያስቀምጥላል። Anyway, but what do you think? አሁን ትምህርትህን አንተ ስትጨርስ አሁንማ በቃ ሚስትረስ ማውራት አይቻልም። ይመጣሉ ባክ ድረስ ባክ ድረስ ኖ አሁን ግን ምን አንተ አሁን ቆይ ትምህርትህን ስትጨርስ ኢትዮጵያ ለመመለስ ነው ያሰብከው ወይስ እዚህ ሀገር ከነሱ ጋር ጎረቤታሞች ሆነ መኖር ነው የፈለግከው ወይስ ምንድን ነው ነገሩ? በሉ ሄድኩ። እስካሁን እየሰማችሁ ነበር። እሺ ሶፊ አመሰግናለሁ። ኦ ናይስ ናይስ፣ በጣም ጥሩ አድርጋ። እኔማ ምን እነሱን ታሪክ ስለማቅ ነው እኔ ዜግነቴን መቀየር የማልፈልገው እንዳለ ምን ያው እንደፈለክ መጓዝ ካልሆነ በቀር ምንም ጥቅም የለውም ብዬ ስላሰብኩ ያው እዚሁ ፍሪደም ኦፍ ስፒች ምናምን ምናምን ይሰጠዋል ያችን ወረቀት ካገኘ። እኔ ግን እስካሁን ድረስ ዜግነቴን አልቀየርኩም። could say on ideologic ነው አስተሳሰቤ ብለህ ልታስብ ትችላለህ። ልክ ነው። but እና ታዲያ እዚሁ ነው እንግዲህ አንተማ በቃ አሜሪካዊ ነህ። try to play the game with their rules. Um, yeah, let's go. But do you know or have you heard of the history or did you see the news about Langley, the AFRICOM command, the U.S. AFRICOM command guy, the Langley, who's against Traore. Have you seen that or no? Mm, Não te deu uma manos. Yeah. The against Burkina Faso. That's I don't know how that guy could do what he does day to day. Like, imagine being black in the military, which you get, um, you know that they're not going to treat you well in the military, especially if you're black. Right now, even they're trying to get rid of black military personnel with every little, excuse me, with every little cause, like they can't shave properly because they have a genetic disposition or something, like stupid things. They're trying to get rid of black military personnel. Within that, you have a black guy who rose through the ranks and who's doing the U.S. Military bid in Africa. And yeah, oh man, I like that dude. He's absolutely a hero. What's a kind of leader Africa needs? Yeah. That's what I thought. But you have this Langley come over and say, "Hey, Traore is taking the gold of his country just for his personal protection. He's looting the country's reserves, blah blah blah." Dude, that's not your place. And he's really adamant about it. He testified in Congress about it. And you gotta wonder what goes through his head. Does he really believe what he says? Or is he being forced to say it through the administration, or he just doesn't care? Because if you look at them side to side, if you see the photo of this Langley dude and Traore, they're both black people, but one became successful here in the U.S. and became the leader in African Command, and one is just Africa's own. And you could see the difference. One is working for its people, the other is working for a foreign power to go into Africa, basically to do whatever they want, to have influence, is what they call it, right? But ማንስ በሆን ከቤት የመጣው ማንሽ አይባልም። ዩቲዩበር ነህ እኮ እ? ደግሞ ላይክ ብለሽ አልነበር እንደ ውሸት Yeah, right. But it's really sad to see a black man being used to go into Africa and to attack like a legitimate government in Africa. That that sucks. If that guy was a white, if the African command dude was white person, you would understand. But if it's a, but when you see a black face, a black African command dude go into Africa to take out, to take out elected leaders, or like revolutionary leaders, it just something doesn't sit right, you know. ውሸታም ጭራሽ. You must know that even the body's going to like you. So the reason I brought up Langley is like, what's the pinnacle of success for a black man in America? How do you define like the most successful person in America, knowing its history? Are you okay? Are you coughing? Yeah, yeah. I was sick last week, but I'm getting better. It's just I'm on the tail end of it. So So yeah, the reason I mentioned that dude is because, like, yeah, what do you define as success besides being a famous guy in entertainment? No, like in a meaningful way. What does it mean to be a successful person as a black person in the United States? There's no success for black in America. There is illusion. You see that what's happening. Successful black men, uh, right to left. Believe me, for not next year or so, they will go after Jay Z. Yeah, true. I mean, once once a black man become very successful, then they don't want him to have the weight to shift uh, political ideologies or anything. As long as they stay in the entertainment sphere, they don't care. Like, i.e., Sean Combs. They don't care. Sean Combs was the most successful media mogul, basically. It, it, it's not like you believe that they haven't known what he was doing all these years. They just didn't care because he's in the entertainment sphere. Uh, if enough people are not coming out and saying stuff about him and taking him to court, then they'll start looking into it. Otherwise, they don't care. But excuse me. But if a black man have a political ideology, then that becomes a different story. Why do you think like Malcolm X said this? Like, if a white person has like a hero of his Yeah, Diddy was a billionaire, now he's a millionaire. Yeah, yeah. But what I'm trying to say is Malcolm X said that why is it like for white people, their heroes are like political leaders or uh, military leaders or scientists, but for the black generation, they give us heroes as comedians, musicians, and the like, because they don't want like a minority that would shift their political ideology. Easy, yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, there are a lot of examples on that, but hmm. But like, think of it in the wider picture. Why is it that our quote unquote famous people for black people are just rappers or musicians or comedians? It's not. It's just entertainment. Why is it that we don't have a serious person held as like a successful black man for our generation? Why is it just, yeah, all clowns? Yeah, that sucks. Yeah, so uh was what I was saying about being successful here in the West. It is it is very sad that we are living in that system right now. And it is also very sad that we know what's going on. I don't think there's like censorship right now. You know everything that's going on, but what's missing is action, and they know you won't do anything about it. Not on an individual level, not on a societal level. And that is what's sad. The fact that you won't do anything about it. It's like they figured you out. This is what we're doing to you, and you won't do anything about it. Right? And they're right. I'm sad to admit it, but they're right. Well, what the Chinese, mm, well, the Chinese are in a socialist uh, or socialist state, basically, their ideology. They did open up their economy for uh, with the US, but their top decision still uh, ideal. Their ideology is still uh, socialist. So, well, let me ask you this: do you think we should segregate our economy, basically the black economy, basically restrict where we spend our money, restrict where we deposit our cash or where we deposit our weekly checks or biweekly checks? If we have our own banks, our own institutions, our own grocery place where we go and shop. That is what they eliminated in the past, what they bombed and they cleared from the face of the earth. That's what they don't want. And you know that that works because they don't want you to do that. But like I said, we have some enclaves of small towns in Utah and elsewhere of white communities who do that, who do practice something like that. But they are allowed to exist and flourish, but not when it comes to black communities. In terms of taking business to their country, educate and go back to Africa and help your country with your knowledge. That is what Chinese and Indians are doing. Um, I well, I don't I don't agree a lot to what you just said because you know the brain drain or what is called as taking educated resources from other countries and bring them here. Yeah, if you look at the STEM field, most of the students in the STEM fields in their PhD and who are doing their masters and PhDs, they're minorities. They're from other countries. People here, or the white men and women, do not go into those fields. Yes, they are the most educated in terms of the Indians and Chinese, but uh, they give them a lot of incentives to work here. They don't give them a lot of incentives to go back to their own country and educate their people. No, they don't do that. So even before they finish graduating, uh, like the local women here, the white women will start flirting with them because they know they're gonna get a after their graduation, this guy's gonna get a fat check every week. So even before they graduate, they tend to have like a white girlfriend. Uh, Even the women start having white boyfriends, and they get married here and have children here. And by the time they think about going back to their own original country and educate their people, it's already too late, as they have already you know, established their roots back here. So that's called the brain drain. And the problem is that black people are consumers, not producers. Yeah, most of them are consumers. Um, but that's not by choice. It's because every time a black person thinks of doing something, he encounters a huge wall in every direction. So he ends up spending whatever he has saved to be a producer, just he ends up spending that money as being a consumer. So unfortunately, that's what it is. Unless there is like a specific town that encourages black minorities to have their own businesses that have uh, that basically gives incentives for people like that, then you're out of luck because every time, every turn that, everywhere you turn here, it's not your place. Um, Even the most successful black businesses in the past have either been bought out by white corporations or they've been sued into bankruptcy because that's how it's been in the past, and I don't see it stopping anytime in the future, especially when you see where this administration is going. So it is. I do have some from. I don't know if you can tell from what I'm espousing here, but I do have a really pessimistic view of where this country is heading for the black population. Um, I don't know if you have looked into Project 2025, but most of this administration's employees are from the people who've pushed this narrative about Project 2025. If you have some time, just look into it. Anyway, 59 minutes since I've been on. What do you think? Should I close shop and see what other channels are saying? And Kane, you gotta understand as well. Even YouTube, uh, after it's been bought was by Google, basically it's Google's. It's one of Google's companies now. But when I used to live in Mountain View, when Google was just competing with Yahoo and Bing in the past, I've seen a lot of like veterans from the Iraq and Afghanistan war. The people who come back opened up a lot of businesses right underneath Google. So most of the subcontractors for Google are American veterans. So that means uh, the covert hand of the United States intelligence uses Google to its advantage. I've seen that like 5 or 6 years ago when they tried to infiltrate one guy's um, live session because he was really popular. The defense came up to him and asked him if they could sit with him and see what he does, basically to copy what he does for their own benefit. So you see a lot of intelligence personnel go into YouTube, create a streamer profile. They would have like uh, um, acknowledged as equal. Yeah, we black people are afraid of knowledge of the truth. As black people understand that we are not welcome anywhere besides Africa. We have to make Africa. Yes, that is one of the philosophies of Malcolm X as well. He says if we are to be respected anywhere around the world, Africa needs to prosper. And the reason the West does not want Africa to prosper is because if Africa prospers, they no longer will become, because there's absolutely nothing here in terms of minerals, in terms of precious metals and everything. Even China, Russia, the US are scrambling for the precious minerals of Africa. There's literally nothing to be hauled out from Earth here in the West. So they know that if Africa uses its own resources for its own benefit, then it would turn the world economy upside down. But when you hear like, remember the World Bank never gave us a dime to build a dam? Like, just think about that. Like, when the World Bank is its decisions are being influenced by the West, they never gave us a dime to build our own infrastructures in that case. And that tells you that they want us to be, they want Africa to be like a place where they would always be in a position of begging for handouts, nothing else. Yeah. So that's what Malcolm X said. If Black people around the world are to be respected, then Africa needs to be respected. And Africa needs to rise. Shikane. አንድ ሰዓት ሞላኝ። ዛሬ እንኳን አስለፈለፍከኝ። ነገ እንግዲህ ባታገኙኝ በቃ ቆልፈውብኝ ነው ማለት ነው። እሺ ላጫውትክ ብዬ ነው። አይ ምንም ችግር የለም። እሺ እኔም በቃ ዞር ዞር ላለው ስለመጣ አመሰግናለሁ። ቅኔ ኦኬ ቻው ቻው።